In realms of digital dreams, Chicago Avenue. Natalie Boll with vision bold, crafts Tribela's view. A safe and genuine space she strives to make, where online worlds are real. For every user safe.
Hey everyone, welcome to TRS. We are live.
Safety, truth, and kindness interweave. E-commerce, social bonds, and growth align. Tribela's haven, bright future shine. Beyond the screen, her legacy extends with Tribela and restaurants. Her impact lens, a force for change. In tech and community, Natalie Boll shapes a world of unity. Welcome to TRS.
Hey everyone, welcome to TRS. Yeah, we custom AI song for Natalie Boll. Welcome to the show, Natalie.
Thanks for having me.
So for everybody tuning in, Natalie is production manager, producer, writer, entrepreneur, wife, mother. She's produced television, wrote and produced and directed an award-winning documentary, Meet Bo Dick, Maker of Monsters, and she has plans to launch a new social media platform, Tribela, this year. Natalie, how did you find time to be on the show?
Well, I'm on a 24-hour clock, so yeah, no, thanks for having me. I always make time.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. It's gonna be a blast. If anybody watching out there has questions for Natalie, please put them in chat. You can join us on Twitch. You can join us on YouTube, and of course, we'll have this edited up later. So if you're watching this in small segments on YouTube, it's too late. Get your questions in now. First off, Natalie, congrats on having a name that starts with Nat. I think the world needs more people with Nat at the beginning of their name. Nathaniels, Natalies, Nathans, Nates. We need more.
Yeah,
it's a great
name. And I went by Nat for most of my life when I was younger.
When I was younger, I did. And then for some reason, my mother and then even my wife will not respond to anybody who calls me anything but my full name.
Yes. I'm all about full names now too.
Full names work. It sounds fancier. So Nathaniel. Nate, I never felt Nate. You only have Nat or Natalie on the female version of the name, right?
Yeah.
All right. I didn't know if there's like a Nate. Well, no. Anyway, so I want to know something. Who is Natalie? Your maiden name, Tudge?
Tudge, yeah.
Who is Natalie Tudge, and what was she like?
Well, for a long time, I went by Natalia Tudge because I thought that sounded way cooler. Yeah, I think, I'm just older and wiser than Natalia Tudge was, but still very adventurous. And I think we're the same.
As a teenager. Well, as a teenager, say like high school years, your friends,
I don't know
what would they think of you now?
I don't know if you want to go to teenager years.
Okay.
I had a very eventful teenagers. I was a dancer, so I went to a fine art school. But before the fine art school, I was in a school that was very rough. I had a lot of gangs, which people don't normally associate Vancouver with.
I don't.
And I thought, you know what? It's a port city, so we have a lot of crime. And I was in an inner city school. Okay. And I decided that I wasn't going to get very far if I stayed there just hanging out because everyone skipped class. So I found an art school like an hour away from where I lived, and I commuted every day. And it was amazing because it made me realize that you could have a career in art. It was so much more my core set of skills when I was younger. I just really found expression in art to be really good to get through your teenage years. And so the art school was perfect for me.
Can I ask how old were you when you discovered this?
13. Yeah.
Wow.
13.
So
14.
That's amazing. That like you knew enough about, hey, I'm not going anywhere here. I won't have that adult life if I don't make some changes. And you did.
Exactly. Yeah. That's amazing. I was really determined to get out of that, that neighborhood, that life. I wanted to work in media. At the time, it was more theater. I was really into theater. I was like, I'm gonna move to New York and be in theater and a dancer. And I worked at the local theater doing the lights and the set deck and the sounds at like 14. I was doing like big sets. That was my weekend volunteering. And then the art school was just amazing. I majored in dance, so I was able to do modern dance and ballet all afternoon in school. It's amazing.
That's awesome. But you did move to New York.
I did.
You went to the American Academy of Dramatic Arts.
Yeah.
And how did that impact you?
Well, I think I actually graduated high school a year early, like a semester early. And so I took off to New York at 18. I just turned 18 by myself. And I was like, that's it. I'm moving to New York for the rest of my life and chasing theater and the lights and glamour of it all.
I love that you
And
went for it.
I just went for it. I usually
I
have that
love it.
pattern, just going for it. And it was, I think I learned more from being in the city than even the class. Like the class became like a blur to me. It was all about, we volunteered at Fashion Week, and it was just such a big city with so many little cities within it. And I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I just would walk like the whole grid. I would just walk from one end to the other end. I loved it.
We heard another story from another Canadian, Tanya Meme, when she got to New York, like she wasn't prepared for really anything. In the city, it seemed like it was more of an education than the schooling she went for as
Exactly.
well. It was a whole
Exactly.
big thing. So, what kind of, and who supported you in this move? It had to be big. Did you have a lot of parental support? Siblings?
No, I was a product of the latchkey kid, of what they say. So my father was a pilot, and so he was not in town. He was a helicopter pilot, a bush pilot for forest fires. So he was very
Okay.
seasonal, so he wasn't at home very often. And my mom worked full time, came home, stuck her earplugs in, was not really aware. So I just moved myself, and I paid for it I was body doubling a lot on film sets, like extra body doubling, these kind of things, stand in, on the set. So I was able to accumulate enough to save up to go, because it was expensive. Yeah, it was really expensive to live there.
Okay. Now you have me going in a million different directions. The body doubling and all that stuff. I'm not going to ask you to name. What can you have any good movie stories or any stories behind it? Because I've never spoken to somebody who did that.
Well, I don't
Anyone,
know.
and
Do
it's
I
not on
actually want to
IMDb.
say this out loud? But I'll say it because we're just open on this show, right?
Sure.
So I did body doubling. Oh, I don't want to be offensive, because it's not offensive. But I did body doubling on Butterfly Effect. Do you remember that with Ashton?
Hell yeah.
Ashton Kutcher,
Oh,
yeah.
sorry.
Yeah. So I was doing body doubling for that, and wardrobe didn't have two costumes, and I was the body doubling for the main actress, and I had to wear her dress that she had worn for like, I don't know,
Oh.
a whole day in the heat. And I
At
was like,
least,
thanks
yeah.
for this sweaty wet dress. But I don't want to go down there, because it was really fun doing stuff like that. So
Well, I don't think you're trying to throw anybody under the bus. It was an unplanned, unthought of thing that
yeah,
happens
I'm
a
sure the
million
actress
times
had
on any
no
set. Yeah.
clue that they gave
Yeah.
me her old dress. But yeah, that was a memory. But that was one show. I did lots of shows because Vancouver has so many productions.
Yes.
And when you're a teenager and you want to get into film and television, and you want to make money doing it, it was such a great way to get into it. And then I would just watch what everyone's doing, learning everyone's jobs, what all the positions are. It was great learning experience.
Yeah, and as a fan of sci-fi, a lot of the shows I watched were filmed in Vancouver, and they would take
Mhm.
local actresses, and then they'd just get blown up to a much
Totally.
bigger thing. Like, hey, we got, and some weren't even really going down the actress or actor path when they
Mhm.
get the gig, and then all of a sudden, like, hey, everybody likes that role. Are you in it? And then you're somebody. I think it's amazing that Vancouver, like, that isn't just a place where things get filmed. They're included with the locals and the people in the industry in the area, and then it
Exactly.
becomes one bigger thing. Unlike Hollywood, which is like, you could move here and be this, but you're going to be an LA person. Whereas Vancouver, they have productions from around the world come in, and you get opportunities. It seems.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's amazing.
That's awesome. And so what I wanted to get back to, the reason I went 2 million directions is you're a latchkey kid, and you did a lot of this on your own. You figured it out at an early age, and you made it happen. That's way more impressive and
Yeah.
harder. A lot of the stories I've had, including we're talking to 3 young people who are in different entertainment professions. 2 of the 3 have had major support from family the whole way
Yeah.
through, including now. And I think that's a fantastic story, and I love hearing it. But I also love hearing that people like, I wanted this, I discovered it, and it was a path and a way to get what I wanted, and I went for it. And like, you went to New York on your own,
Yeah.
essentially. You made the decision a long time ago, and everything led you there. Just impressive.
Thank
And
you.
like,
Yeah, it was exciting.
and so of the jobs you learned, and before I embarrass myself, can I ask you to please educate me on what does a producer do, and what are the difference between an executive producer, production manager, or just a producer with no word before or after? I don't
Well, there's
a lot,
there's many forms and contexts of what a producer does.
right?
So I was mainly a line producer, sometimes an executive producer. So a line producer, you're basically managing all the lines of a budget. So you're really in charge of everything. Hiring the production managers, hiring all the key, and you are running the show basically. Um, an executive producer, it depends. A lot of them are bringing in the finances. They're the ones basically the overseeing of the business side of the film. A lot of times people will fund part of a film and get an executive producer credit. It's like one of those credits that you give out to people.
Right.
But on the high level, it's usually the one that's gotten the broadcaster license agreement. You're the one working with the streamers. You're the one financing the thing.
Okay.
You're putting it all together. That's the executive producer. Line
In
producer
corporate
is more,
speak,
what's
I'm sorry,
that?
in corporate speak, that would be somebody on the board,
Not necessarily
kind of.
yeah, well, be more like, yeah, I guess
It
so.
seems like I have the money and or the connections, and I'm going to let you run the show, but I can bring this to it as long as I'm part of the
Yeah,
ride.
or you're like, yeah, you're just basically the executive putting it together
Okay.
is what the executive producer does. A line producer is more hands-on. You're the one really basically taking the lines of the budget and making sure you have everybody in place to get everything done. Uh, a producer can be many different hats. Like a producer could be somebody who's gotten a lead actress on board and really helped on that. It's like
Okay.
a producer's kind of a gray area. You can be doing a lot of things, but a line producer is like a hands-on. You're hiring the production manager. The production manager is basically managing the whole production, and then you have a coordinator that's coordinating everything for the production manager. Yeah.
Okay. I got it. And being in a corporate lifer nowadays, it seems like I do actually kind of get that a little better now. So which one of those roles do you prefer to do?
I loved production managing because I love to see things come. I love to organize and I love to follow a budget and make sure we're on time. I'm very much into that. But I also really like line producing as well. Executive producing, it's much harder when you're bringing a show like, say, Maker of Monsters, my documentary. I executive produced it,
Mhm.
brought the financing. It's a lot more work to get a show from an idea off the ground to now it's on CBC, was in Cineplex theaters. That is a lot of work, but it's really amazing to be part of something that you've created and funded and put together. But line producing is rewarding when you can stay within the lines of a budget. I like
Sure.
that.
And if you do it a
Yeah.
couple times, they keep hiring you for other stuff too, right? I'm
Yeah,
sure.
and then you're building the team. That's what's so great about line producing
Okay.
is that you're really the one hiring the first crew. You're building the team, so you can really create like your go-to people that you're the one in charge of bringing them on board, and that's really great.
Okay. You're well, I'm sure I've talked to the people who have produced things. You're the first person that could explain it to me on that level because your credits are all over with all of those roles. And then I wanted to dig in rather than assume you do X or whatever I think, whatever I guess I should say, whatever the entertainment industry tells me a producer is just based off
Yeah.
TVs or
Well,
movies,
it's fluid on a lot of the producer titles, but like the line
right?
producer is like a very set production role.
Okay, cool. So we're going to move into a slightly different direction. We have an elephant in the room. You've
Mhm.
been married to Uwe Boll for 10, 12 years now?
12 years, yeah. Well, we've
12
been
years
married
now?
for 10, together for 12, yeah.
12, okay. And on top of his credits, he sparked a lot of controversy from time to time. But this isn't his interview; it's yours. You're a production manager on the movie Rampage, President Down, along with the second movie in the series, I believe,
Mhm,
that your husband wrote and directed. Did
mhm.
working together have any unique challenges that you had to overcome, and how did it impact your relationship overall?
Well, actually, I think it made us closer in a way
Okay,
because it was really nice to work with somebody who's in the same industry with you, that you're in a relationship with, and that they can understand it. Because if you're not in the film and television industry and you're with somebody, like if you're with somebody who's not in the film and television industry, a lot of times it's really hard for them to understand, oh, by the way, I'm going to be working 18 hours today. They just don't understand the all the aspects to it. So that was really nice. Uwe doesn't work 18-hour days because he really he gets things done very efficiently. So
right.
it's a very different set than what I've ever worked on. But it was really nice working with him. Yeah, it was great.
Did you have any special rules that you put in place before you started working together, or did you just roll into it and see what you needed to work? I love my wife, and we do a lot of things together, and occasionally we need rules before we roll into something. And I'm curious if you had to do that, if you're just like, let's figure it out as we go.
I don't Uwe's not somebody who does well with rules, so that would have
Yes.
not worked.
Okay.
It's
Okay.
kind of like, we're making the movie, we're starting next week, you're going to produce it and production manage it, let's go. And Rampage 2, Rampage 2, I wasn't pregnant. Rampage 3, I was like waddling pregnant with our son, production managing it. But it was fun. He does things so differently than any other production. He often works off of treatments, and he gets the actors really involved. And the actors are sitting there writing their parts, coming up with what they would do. He writes the outline of what they're
Okay.
doing and then gives them the freedom. So that was really nice to watch. It's a little bit harder to schedule, but he moves so quickly. So it was that. I will tell you one story. It's far enough away that I'm not going to get us in trouble for it.
Oh, I don't want
But
to bring up anything bad.
it's not bad. But
Okay.
he, as a production manager, you're also the one getting all the permits. You're making sure that everything's in order. And for him, he is very much into blowing things up. So you need a lot of permits for that, especially when you're going to blow up a
Sure.
car. And so the city was like, okay, we need the fire truck, we need this, we need that. They had all these rules and prep for that. So I was busy organizing it. And he's like, okay, we're going to blow up the car right now. And I'm like, no, we can't, because the fire department's not here yet. These are all the steps we need to take to blow up the car. I turned around, car blew up. I'm like, really? My name is on all these permits. He's like, it's okay, it's done now. So we don't have to have the conversation.
the
That's what it was like working with my husband.
asking for forgiveness instead of permission with
Yeah,
local government. Yes.
yeah,
I love it.
yeah.
Um, so I did want to send out a real quick shout out to Loretta Walsh, who was in Rampage 3, I believe, as a news reporter, because she was on our show recently. And I just want to say,
Okay.
I love it when Kismet works again. I'm looking through the credits. I'm like, hey, we just talked to her. So I had to say hi to her, and I'm pretty sure Leslie is out there watching as well. So hey to everybody. I love the Vancouver connectedness of this show for whatever reason. I think
Yeah.
it's now in my blood. Have a great one. Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful night. Be safe out there. Treat each other well.